It's episode 1253, and it's the Relevant Podcast here in Orlando. I'm your host, Cameron Strang. Joining me from Loverland, Virginia, it's the pink shirt-wearing Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
From Nashville, artist, producer, mogul, Derek Miner.
What up, dog?
Not wearing a pink shirt. And just down the street there, also not wearing a pink shirt, our managing editor, downtown Emily Brown.
Hey, y'all.
Okay, Emily, how come Jesse looks more festive than you do? Because it's your birthday this week, a milestone birthday nonetheless. You should be in celebration mode all week long. Have you learned nothing? You got to stretch this thing out. He looks like he just came from a birthday party, not you.
Here's the thing. I think in my 20s, I maybe could have stretched out a celebration week, but now that I'm in my 30s, I love a good nap and rest and relaxation. So I partied hard this weekend. We're chill.
What did, because this was a big one for you, what did the birthday celebration entail that required napping later in the week?
Pedal taverns will take it out of you, Jesse. That's the thing. Is like, because you're pedaling.
We did not get on a pedal tavern. I did have friends come to Nashville. We rented an Airbnb, did sort of like a staycation thing. But honestly, we were just up late talking and out doing fun 30-year-old things. So...
Fun 30-year-old things.
So pedal tavern. By the way, Detroiters on I don't know if you guys, Tim Robinson has a show that was prior to, I think you should leave this on Netflix. There's a great pedal tavern episodes that culminates with him accidentally getting on an interstate on-ramp. I encourage everyone.
I like it.
So I recently rewatched all 3 seasons of I Think You Should Leave because it is a show near and dear to your heart. We've watched it together when you visited. One of my favorite memories of watching the season 2 was you actually you just had watched it. It just had come out when we were together. I hadn't seen it yet. And so you then reenacted your favorite skits for me.
That's right.
Which
I still do.
Which then made the show way less funny when I saw it. Anyway, the other night I was folding laundry and I was like, I haven't watched it in a while. And on TikTok and Instagram, I see the clips all the time and they're always great. So I was like, let me put on the actual show again. And season 1, 2, and 3 are incredibly different. Have you noticed this? Have you watched them back to back?
I'll be honest, I haven't watched them like that. They all kind of conflate together. If you were to say, hey, this individual sketch or whatever, I wouldn't be able to tell you which season. I don't think.
So season 1, he's trying to figure out what this show is, and it's a whole bunch of standalone short skits, right? Season 2, he figured out that he thought it was funnier to do weird, meandering, long form skits. So the skits like go from like a minute and a half to like 6 or 7 minutes long. And then in season 3, it's just like this weird drop off. Season 2 is the prime, in my opinion. But you don't have any like distinction between them.
I don't know. Well, season 3, I think it's season 3, has some real goal. And well, you just watch them. Maybe I'm not. But like the driving crooner.
That is season 3.
You're right. Then the silent theater performer. I love that one where he plays a performance artist, and his whole shtick is that he doesn't speak no matter what, and he does a whole one-man show where he never speaks, and he just mimes the whole time. And the joke is, people only come to scream and heckle him to try to get him to have a breakdown and speak, because if he speaks, they get their money back. And there's also a theme in season 3 that he's constantly harassed by frat boys, and frat boys are showing, you know what I mean? Like that's in the driving crew. He's always afraid of frat boys just randomly showing up to harass him.
Who isn't?
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know. I have a soft spot for some of the season 3.
Yeah, that's true. I just feel like he kind of like his best material was used in season 2, and season 3 was just an obligatory, renewal. But
I will say this: he has another little Tim Robinson gem. If you watch, I Think You Should Leave, and Detroiters, both of on Netflix. There's a series called Documentary Now, which I love, and he has what I think is their funniest episode, where it is like an old school, like sports doc. Like each episode of that series is a parody of a documentary. And this one happens to be a parody of like an old school sports documentary, almost like a 30 for 30. And it is about professional bowling. And In it, Tim Robinson plays the rising superstar bad boy of bowling. That's all I will say. That's really the only setup
The bad
you need.
boy of bowling. So he's dressed like Timothy Chalamet courtside, basically.
He looks exactly like Timothy. He's wearing the same glasses
Yeah.
throughout the whole time.
Yeah.
But it goes so deep in his twisted psychology because it turns out his dad was like the original statesman of bowling. Anyway, it is pure Tim Robinson. I really enjoyed it.
Who was the guy? Do y'all remember that skit where the guy, or not skit, the actual live footage of the guy bowling? He rolls a strike and he's like,
I am,
you're not.
I
I am the greatest. Like, he just, who do you
That's the
think
guy
you
who's
are?
spoofing, right?
Well, in the episode, he actually does that whole monologue.
Yes.
He does the entire word. Who do you think you are? I am.
Yeah.
Tim Robinson does that as like an homage during the episode. So I encourage everyone to watch that. Also, okay, it's interesting you bring this up because the other thing too is like, I was thinking about Will Forte this weekend. He makes an appearance in several episodes.
Yeah.
The guy, the funniest in my opinion is the guy who gets his ponytail stuck under a car and has a meltdown
right.
because he's crawling under a car. I think his keys go under there and his ponytail gets stuck and it causes a massive scene in the suburban neighborhood. You know the sketch, Cameron, right?
And again, I will tell the listener that Jesse telling you about the skit is way funnier than the actual skit.
I disagree. It's hilarious. It's about a guy who gets his ponytail stuck while crawling under a car, and that's all you need to know. But I had the privilege. I saw Nate Bargatze this weekend. He came through town. And who did he bring out on stage prior?
Will Forte.
Was Will Forte. And Will Forte was hilarious. And it made me want to rewatch all of his, I watched a bunch of old MacGruber this week. It made me laugh so hard.
MacGruber!
Is Will Forte's stand-up good? I don't think I've ever heard him do stand-up.
He doesn't. You could tell that they planned out what he was going to do on the drive there. He had no material. And I guess I can just say what he did. He did, first he teased the audience repeatedly because it was a big surprise that he was going to be there. He wasn't on the kind of the bill, but he repeatedly made people believe Jason Sudeikis would be joining him on stage at any moment. And everyone bought it. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, only to reveal he wasn't there. And then he tried to trick people again that just kidding, he is here. And he did that like 3 times. That was most of his material. And then he said that he was preparing a melody and he just started singing. He sang Shallows in its entirety, which he then leveraged into the Ozempic commercial and finally ended with him leading the crowd and proud to be an American. It doesn't sound like it would work. But it worked. It was very funny. So shout out to Wolf.
That's a lot.
It was a lot.
That's a whole lot right there, guys.
I get what you mean by they planned it on the way over.
Yeah,
of just like, truly, what could they do?
When Nate Bargatze took the stage, he goes, well, I can promise you that was a one-time Norfolk special right there, what
Right.
you just saw.
Right.
Emily, do you feel different now that you're 30? I mean, you've been 30 for 3 or 4 days now.
Yeah, I mean, everything's just clicking and all the problems I had in my 20s are gone now and life is just great. No, I feel the exact same as my 20s. So many people have asked me this and I'm like, guys, ask me in 6 months to a year and it'll probably still be the same answer. But
Marty said to you on your birthday via text that this is going to be the best decade of your life. And I stand with that. This is going to be Emily prime time.
I believe it. But like I said, 4 days in and I'm just a little sleepy. So
Still?
It doesn't get better.
The sleepiness.
It doesn't get better. I take naps like a 5th grader. Like,
Do you really?
or like
I
a
can't nap.
5-year-old. Like a 5-year-old. I'm sorry. I take naps like a 5-year-old. I mean, it's 4-3, like literally about 1 o'clock. It's like, all right, I need a nap.
I took a 2-hour nap on Monday after work. It was glorious.
After work.
Oh, no,
That's like mid-evening at that
That's
point.
just early bedtime.
Yeah. Oh
no, I got up and then made dinner and then I went back to
sure.
bed later that night.
On my Friday or like my Saturdays when it's just me and the family, like I'm literally the old man and on the good side of the couch, and like TV is watching me at like 2 in the day.
You've got your little blanket curled up.
No lie. I'm curled up in the blanket and I'm watching something. and the TV just starts watching me at like 2:00.
How do you get up from a nap? This is my issue. I love sleeping. I could fall asleep at any moment, but I want to sleep for 4 or 5 hours. So like I couldn't like do an hour nap and then feel refreshed. Like my body's like, no, I want more, and so I feel worse when I get up.
I just get up and start going.
That's the other thing. That sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah.
I don't really know how
So I
to
gotta
help
avoid
you.
it. It's like I can't if I can't go down for 4 or 5 hours, then I can't do any nap.
I hit the alarm clock and then it's boom, it's off to the races.
I think if I took like a 4-hour nap, I think I would feel bad. Like 1 hour is good for me because I'm not entering any like REM sleep or anything. Like it really is.
Then what's the point?
Like,
just refreshing. It just
yeah.
Here's the conundrum I've
it
in.
feels good. That's the point.
This is the last couple of Sundays for us. We've gone, and we typically do the early service, and the logic of going to the early service on Sunday morning that you get home in time, have a full day. Well, last 2 Sundays we've both come home, Dana and I, and just taken naps, like not like couch naps, like gone back to bed, you know. And so it's like maybe I just should go to the later service.
That's my thing. Like, what's the point of the early service?
I'm basically starting the day at the same time.
You have the same amount of daylight.
Early service. Brunch, nap, day starts. That's me.
After the nap, so like 3 p.m., 2 p.m.
Oh, yeah, we ready to rock.
Yeah, I still got plenty of hours left in the day to get my grocery shopping
service
done.
Is like 8:00, 7:00.
Yeah, but you could sleep in until 10:30, go to the 11 service, and then you've got more sleep.
But the nap don't hit as good unless you got mimosas and pancakes. So.
Got you.
My church has a sleep out. We've got a 9 a.m. service, so I go to that. And then I'm home by like 11. That's great.
See, but that's weird because like my church is out at a 4th service. So my 10:30, which is perfect, then now is 9:45. So I'm out at 11. It's too early for lunch. It's too late for breakfast. Perfect. What do you do?
Brunch.
That's brunch. That is why they invented brunch.
That's why God gave us brunch.
But literally. I'm just not going to go to brunch with my kid. I mean, it's like, what am I going to have? Eggs?
I'll go to brunch by myself.
What do you have?
I will.
What do you have at brunch?
Chicken,
breakfast.
What don't you have at brunch?
Mimosa,
biscuits and gravy,
or Irish coffee, like
an omelet.
Oh yeah, omelets, bro. What you talk? Biscuits, steak and eggs. What do you want?
Or a sandwich.
All right, Derek, you were in LA all week, huh? How was the stuff leading up to the BET Awards and all that? We're actually we have a thing in Relevant Buzz coming up about the BET Awards, but how was your week?
Yeah, it was great. There's always an opportunity to network. We had a great time. We went to this thing called Rhyme and Soul. Our label put on 2 events, R&B Forever, which is just an upcoming R&B artist, and then we put on event called Rhyme and Soul, which was a cipher, but then there was also sneakerheads there. So we had
that's cool.
Director for marketing for Nike was there. The shoe surgeon was there. It was just like super dope. Everybody had on their best shoes. Very cool event.
You had a good time. And Marty did a showcase with you guys, he said?
Yeah, so he was part of the cipher on the Rhyme and Soul. So it was super dope.
How does Marty do in a cipher situation? Because I don't see Marty being a cipher rapper.
Extremely awkward. So he was the only white guy there, or white-ish guy there. And he started off saying, "I'm an action star," to no applause because all the black people were lost. So it was extremely awkward, but he recovered. Like one of my homeboys was there. He was like, "Yo, that white dude is dope." I was like, "Yeah, he's good," but it was that was funny. Like I'm not gonna lie, because I feel like if Marty was in Marty's crowd, that would have hit. But all the people was like, "What?" Right. But he played it up. He played it off as the only way Marty could. He said, "Oh, nobody ever heard of Will Smith? All right, let's go." And then he starts rapping.
I appreciate the recovery, though. I wish he would have just for the rest of the time just done Will Smith lyrics and just like not acknowledge it.
Yeah, bro. I kind of feel like that would have made the event. That would have made him stick out crazy in the event. But he did stick out just in general because he's super fly. And the verses he was spitting were crazy. It just was It was just Marty being Marty. That's one thing I'll say. It was fun.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right, well, we're glad you're back. Speaking, you had you said up and coming R&B showcase. We have talking about R&B on the rise. Jay Manwell is on the show today. One of our favorite new Christian R&B duos are coming out of Texas. Can't wait for you guys to hear their stuff. Really cool. Also, we have One Has to Go at the end of the show, and stay tuned right now. Right after this break, it's Relevant Buzz. Not sure what's next after college? Ready to step out of your comfort zone and into something meaningful? Check out the Global Ambassador Program from ELIC. You'll spend 9 months, September to May, on a team of passionate people just like you in Thailand, Tunisia, or Uzbekistan. You'll grow through mentorship, take language classes, immerse yourself in a new culture, and teach English to the local community, all while building real-life skills and making a real impact. Sound good? Head to elic.org/relevant to learn more. Again, that's elic.org/relevant. Okay, it's time for
Relevant Buzz.
Tell us what's happening at the intersection of faith and culture this week, Emily.
Okay, well, Derek, like you said, it was BET weekend, and on Monday it was the BET Awards. And I'm sad you didn't go because you missed out on GloRilla winning her very first BET Award for Best Gospel and Inspirational Song.
Unreal.
It is an unreal moment. For those who don't know, on her recent debut album, she had a song with Kirk Franklin and Maverick City Music called Rain Down on Me. BET Awards loved it so much, they gave her an award for it. Honestly, we were confused.
Surprised.
Surprised, that's a good word.
Yeah.
When it was announced, because she's not really what we consider a
Out of
gospel
all
artist.
the gospel songs released this past year, that's the one they said was the best. All right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, here's a clip for the listeners who haven't heard GloRilla's gospel song. Here's a clip.
Feeling like I'm God's favorite, and that stuff is feeling ever. Rain down on me, Father God. I won't use an umbrella. Forget the ones who play with me. Apparently they don't know no better. At times I don't know who to trust. I randomly rebuke the devil. It's hard to talk about my blessings. They be saying I'm acting cocky. Always am forever humble. They just don't want to see me pop it. 5 feet and I'm praising you with every inch up in my body. So I pray you watch my back along with those who say they get it. Watch over my family, Lord, and watch over all of my partners. And even though he hate me, Lord, watch over my baby father. Watch over my haters, they the ones that make me go the hardest. I just want us all to win. I just want us all to prosper. Thank you, Lord. You didn't have to do it, but you did. That's why I thank you, Lord. It could have been worse than what it was, so I'm grateful, Lord. I know I'm a tough one, but you patient, Lord. So I thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name.
Come on. Lord, I'm here for every one of your blessings. Yes, sir. Rain down on me. Oh, I wish I could get
There
a
you go. That's the winner, everybody.
Yeah, and I will say, to GloRilla's credit, she even joked about the fact that she won this award in her speech. When she got on stage, she did thank God first, and then she also thanked Kirk Franklin, who was on stage with her, and said, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of scared to ask him for a feature on this song because y'all know how I rap. But when he said yes, I was so excited.
The next track, literally the next track after this gospel song, it starts out with the most explicit, like like you can't just listen to the one song and be like, oh yes, Jesus, and then it's like F and this, F and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's as far as Black culture. I don't know any other culture, but I know Black culture. There's not many Black people I know that weren't raised in church and don't have a reverence for God. So it's just a very conflicting thing that's just in our culture, which, like I've said this before, but I knew dudes that used to sell drugs that would cut their music down, you know what I'm saying, when they were around the church, or they would make sure that if they was selling, they wasn't selling general vicinity of the church. So like I know guys that have paid tithe off of drug money. You know what I'm saying?
That's next level.
Literally, man, you know, I did all this work. I got to make sure that, and it's almost for them was like, man, I got to make sure that I at least do something good with this money. So I'll give it to the church, right? Some of the guilt was bothering them, but black people are deeply religious. So to me, as crazy as this is, it's not as far-fetched. Also, when you add in the fact that all these award shows are based on votes. So it doesn't matter what the best song is. 9 times out of 10, it's really just on who has the most motion and name recognition. So you take GloRilla, who's arguably a top 10 rapper, period, that's out right now. You take Maverick City Music, arguably the number one worship band of the last 5 years, or the last decade for sure, that definitely would be considered that. They're the New Hill song. And then you take Kirk Franklin, who is an iconic, legendary gospel singer. Like, it's going to be almost impossible to give that award to anybody other than them based on votes, especially knowing that a lot of people don't really listen to gospel music, but they heard GloRilla's album. So
GloRilla's given name is Gloria Hallelujah. That's her actual name.
Facts.
For real.
Yeah.
To your point
absolutely.
about growing up in the church.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, she actually spoke about it with Tamron Hall last year, and she said that she grew up in church, and she was like, if the church was open, my family was there, like we would have been there 7 days a week if we could. And so she very much grew up in church, and she did admit that, you know, things have shifted for her over the years, but she still sees God as like a really big part of her life.
And that's why I'm passionate about making music, art, and hopefully helping to contribute to creating a space so people don't feel like in order to be successful, they have to leave those faith roots in order for that to happen. I think if anything, you know, somebody who's literally named Gloria Hallelujah and was in church every day, but somehow when she gets older feels like in order to be successful in art, I have to go be something else or do something else. I feel like the church has to do a better job of creating space for people like that to be able to use their gifts in the church so that we don't lose it to the world.
Do you feel like the tide's turning on that, Derek?
A little bit, not a lot though. The thing that I see right now, this is my personal opinion. I could be wrong, but I feel like when you see Christian music starts to rise, a lot of times it's because they created us versus them perspective. And usually the us versus them perspective is very narrow. So there's very few people that can be in that us bubble. And then what winds up happening is everybody that's out in the other place, like, well, there's no real space for me because one of the biggest Christian artists or Christian rappers or whatever, there's no inclusiveness for me. So I'm gonna just go be where I feel more included. But it's also a challenge too, because, you know, faith is about holiness and it's about separation. So I don't know the answer. I don't know, but yeah, my perspective on it.
On the white side, you know, in the 90s, like it was like, you know, you grew up in youth group and you had to be in a Christian band, you know, if you were in a band. And I feel like in the 2000s it shifted. You know, I think Switchfoot was part of that, but then, you know, Kings of Leon, and then it kind of gave birth to like a whole generation of like Laney and other like indie groups that were Christians, or even Forrest Frank with Surfaces, you know, like they had no problem making just kind of like music they enjoyed, even though they grew up in the church or they still went to church. They didn't feel obligated that they had to make Christian music, you know? And it was like the ones who wanted to make Christian music in that generation became worship leaders, and they did modern worship stuff. So it was like, we kind of lost this generation of like Christian rock because they all just did mainstream indie stuff.
Yeah.
And then when we had like the rise of like, you know, more rock influenced worship music or whatever. But it's interesting that in the hip hop space and the R&B gospel space, that kind of 1990s divide is still there.
Yeah,
you're either secular or you're sacred, and there's nothing in between.
It's come back. Like it's stronger. To me, it feels very much like the 90s in that sense. And the problem with that is we begin to draw lines on things that aren't necessarily salvation-driven things. They're more stylistic things. So when you look at Christian music, I always say that Christian music is often escapism for people that just don't want to deal with the nuances of the world a lot of time. I just want to be me and God. That's it. I don't want to know about all the other stuff that's going on. And that's not a bad thing, but it's just a thing. But the problem with a lot of artists is they don't want to just make every song vertical. I want to talk about heartbreak. I want to talk about the time where I slept with my girl and I shouldn't have slept with her and what happened from that. I want to talk about the time when I did something wrong and I actually liked it and I'm struggling with that, right? You can't really talk about that in church because now you're dangerous.
It's compromise.
Yeah, it's compromise. You're dangerous, right? So that's isolates a group of people that are in that I'm trying to figure it out, or I'm in a wrestle and I'm struggling. So that isolates that group of people. But then the people in the rest of the world are like, hey, yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. Like, I love God, but at the same time, I want to go to the club and hang with my friends. I don't know what to do with that, right? So the church is going to tell you, well, don't do that. But the average person is going to tell you, like, hey, I mean, I'm dealing with that too. Let's talk about that. There has to be just more space for nuance, but it's just not the way typical church culture is. It's not built for nuance in that way. It's not built for that kind of nuance.
Do you think part of the reason for that is not just with artists, but it seems like anyone with a platform who also happens to be transparently a Christian? So this could be like an athlete too, but particularly with artists, just because there's a lot of them, that they are suddenly put on the same pedestal as like a pastor or ministry leader, instead of just, I'm a normal person who has the same struggles and I probably talk the same way as a lot of normal people, or, you know, if you were to hang out with me, I would seem reasonably normal, hopefully still maintain some integrity, still have questions, still have flaws, like a normal human being. I just happen to be famous, and now everyone holds me to a standard as if I'm a pastor.
No,
and
they hold you to an inhumane standard. Honestly, it's not pastor standard. They hold you to a standard of being something other than human. And like, you have to be above human. Like, there's one thing to say I'm above reproach, but then there's another thing to say I'm above being human. And we take above reproach as that person needs to be above human. I'm just going to tell you the honest to God truth. Most of your favorite artists, and I'm assuming I don't know a lot of pastors, but a lot of your favorite artists, they project who they aspire to be more than who they actually are. And I think it's because
the cynical person would say not aspire to be, but the role they need to play to sell albums. So, you know what
absolutely.
I mean? Like, their heart's not even, they're not even trying to be that person. They have to play that role.
And I would say that is often a byproduct of being who you was, or of trying to portray who you're aspiring to be for too long. Like, so I'm aspiring to be this person. And then life hits me and I have to deal with things personally, but I have to continue to project who I've aspired to be for so long that I become cynical. And then it's just like, it's autopilot. I'm just throwing out what works, and that's that. But how I feel, how I would love to see the Christian industry or Christian world work, is that we meet people where they're at. That's not to say that you just platform every single person, but we allow space for people to be honest, because if we don't allow them to be honest, then they can't grow. We can't challenge the things that they're actually dealing with. But a lot of times we just live in a church world where when you're a leader, I'm expecting you to be better than me. That's the problem. Yeah, it does. I'm not better than you.
Well, actually, Derek, that does kind of lead to the next buzz item I wanted to talk about, because we did want to talk about the news that broke this week about Michael Tait from Newsboys. Back in January, Tait abruptly left the group after about 20 years, and he announced it in a pretty short and brief post. And since he left, there's been some rumors about why he left, what happened, but nothing was confirmed until last week, when the Roy's Report published the results of a 2.5-year investigation into allegations against Tait, which included 3 separate accounts from people who claimed Tait had groomed and sexually assaulted them while on tour or at Tait's home. These incidents took place between 2004 and 2014, but the report also noted that over the years, Tait has also dealt with heavy drug and alcohol abuse.
And just to be clear, we haven't been covering this as it has been happening, because we kind of have a rule that like if we've platformed somebody and then negative things come out about them, we will share the negative thing to give the full context and full picture of the person we platformed. But we've never platformed Michael Tait or the Newsboys. We've never once covered them. So we felt weird covering the salacious stuff until Michael Tait had something to say directly. We didn't want to cover the rumors and the reportings and the whatever. And then a few days ago, Michael Tait actually did have a statement. So he finally has addressed it.
Yes, and you can read Tait's full response on relevantmagazine.com. We posted it there. And I actually would encourage you to do that, because it is very transparent and honest. But I do want to read a brief part of it here. He wrote, "For some 2 decades, I used and abused cocaine, consumed far too much alcohol, and at times touched men in an unwanted, sensual way. I am ashamed of my life choices and actions and make no excuses for them. I will simply call it what God calls it, sin. I don't blame anyone or anything but myself. While I might dispute certain details in the accusations against them, I do not dispute the substance of them. And then he goes on to explain that, he had checked himself into a treatment facility after leaving the group, and he's been working toward earning forgiveness, especially of those who he hurt. And he ended his statement by saying, to the extent my sinful behavior has caused anyone to lose respect or faith and trust in me, I understand, deserve, and accept that. But it crushes me to think that someone would lose or choose not to pursue faith and trust in Jesus because I have been a horrible representative of him, for he alone is ultimately the only hope for any of us. It was like I said, a very honest and transparent response. You can read all of it at our site. And
the Newsboys too, Duncan, I think a few days prior to that, did say he finally acknowledged it from the band side and did say that they were shocked and they had no idea that Tait was living this double life. And he concealed it from his bandmates as well, apparently. So, yeah. I mean, to be honest, if you're in the Christian music industry at all, it's been the worst kept secret for 30 years. About Tait. Everybody knew, but it never came out. I was always kind of surprised that it never came out. I was always surprised that, like, if everybody knows this, how is he on stage at the Newsboys? Like, I don't understand, because the Christian audience is incredibly conservative and would never be okay with that. And
I don't know if, to be clear, I don't know if the abuse allegations were aware.
The lifestyle was the lifestyle. Known,
well, yes. But this goes back to a point Derek was making too, is like, there's a commodification to perception, right? Beyond the art. Like, people have a financial incentive to project themselves in a way that creates a perception that people don't want to just look to emulate and admire, but actually want to purchase, right? They want to be close to, they want to buy products from, they want an association with, so much so that they're willing to pay to go, to meet and greets and concerts and buy merch and go to movies or whatever it is, right? And the commodification of perception, I think we've seen it over and over, whether it's someone in ministry or whether it's someone with a platform, it creates a situation where the incentive for keeping things hidden until they come to a head because of an investigative reporter or something outweighs in a lot of people's lives. It outweighs the spiritual benefit of coming clean. We've created a culture where we've de-incentivized people's transparency until they're backed into a corner because we've tied their financial, livelihood to it in a way that just seems really unhealthy. I don't know how to get out of it, and I'm not saying any single person is responsible, but it's clear that that's sort of at the root of this thing.
I would just say, I mean, you could directly tie that to a lot of the pastor scandals as well, right? So they're struggling with porn, loneliness, unhappiness. They make a mistake. They feel trapped. They can't turn to their elders and confess. They're going to lose their job. They're scared that their family won't be able to be supported, so then they conceal the sin, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse, so like, it's the same thing. Like, their financial livelihood being tied to, virtue.
And I'll add, because a lot of times we look at the artist and say, well, that artist should have came up and said, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But also, there's people that are making money off these guys. And they don't want to see those guys leave and miss a tour or miss church for 6 months and not preach for 6 months, because we don't know if people are going to show up for the second string preacher. We don't know if if the band stops touring, if the tour numbers will be the same. So we'll just don't ask, don't tell, don't let this get outside of control. Long as you keep it and I don't know anything about it, I have zero responsibility to hold it up. But to me, that's not love. Love is, you know what, brother, I love you so much that I would rather try to help you save your life right now than make money off of you. And it's really parasitical the way that the culture deals with Christian culture specifically, but deals with leaders. A lot of times it can be very parasitical. It can go from like, man, we're inspired by this person to, man, give me my fix of dopamine, Jesus dopamine. And I want to also I want to also challenge the listeners, because I'm sure that everybody is shaking their head at Michael Tait right now, and everybody is probably shaking their head at the parade of pastors that have fallen. But I'm going to say, if you were in that position, there's no telling what you would probably be. And thank God that some of you lives haven't been exposed, that your lives aren't big enough for people to have to want to peer into your life and be exposed. And thank God that you haven't had this blessing / curse of pressure on you, because there's no telling what kind of secret sin you would have been using. And everybody feels like, if it was me in that position, I'd have did it different. But the Bible talks about, say, when you see a brother that's stumbling, you need to think, man, like, I need to watch myself. You need to look at yourself more as like, man, let me look at my life and my doctrine and make sure that I'm living a singular life instead of a double life. So like, this should not be a time where we're throwing tomatoes at a dude. This should be a time where we all take inventory of ourselves and say, if my private life was put on screen for the whole world to see, would it honor God, or would it be a net negative for the kingdom? So.
And you got to think too, Michael, like he's obviously probably struggled with this his whole life, right? And, went to grow up in the church, went to Christian university, formed a Christian band, had a Christian career, and like could never, so he probably hated about this side of him that, he tried to suppress it, tried to change that about him. The drugs, the alcohol clearly were coping mechanisms, to numb himself, while it's egregious, the abuse accusations are black and white. I mean, that's egregious. I mean, abuse is egregious. The private turmoil, the double life stuff that he struggled with probably for decades. I have empathy for that, so when things like this come out, it's never just this binary, like one day I'm just going to decide to abuse guys. There's demons inside of him that been there a long time.
And usually that's how the devil works. It starts off with a small addiction that leads to a bigger addiction that leads to something greater.
Well, every addiction ends up not working after a while, right?
Uh-huh.
You have to raise the stakes. I mean, that's how alcoholism that works. That's how drugs works. It's like, this numbs me now, but it doesn't numb me a year from now. So I got to go up a notch. And then that's how it becomes what it becomes.
The law of diminishing returns.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks a lot, Emily. That was so fun.
You're welcome. Well, thankfully, we're going to end on something much more positive. We are going to talk about football for a minute. And I do want to clarify, I know it is not football season, okay?
June? We can't even escape
Emily
it in
bringing football up in the summer?
My dad
I can't
is
wait to
hooping
see
and
what this. I
hollering
can't
right
wait
now.
to see what this is. Come on.
What is this? It was a sports center. All they do is talk about the NFL in the middle of the
mandatory mini camps. Guys are running drills out here. They're running drills.
Right.
I'd like to offer you some analysis, but unfortunately, they're just running drills and they all look the same.
You a football baddie now, Emily?
in her 30s. That's her new thing.
Yeah, in my 30s. That's my new bit, is I'm a big football person. Football fan, not football person. Yeah, clearly I'm working on the vernacular.
Okay,
Anyways, we're
okay.
talking about the New York Jets, okay? I want to get to them.
Jesse's jaw just dropped. His favorite team. He's like, what? Talking about the Jets?
And this story is related to purgatory, actually, the Catholic doctrine.
Wait. The Jets' trajectory is the NFL personification of the theology of purgatory, of they're going nowhere, they're just existing. Okay, got it.
And you're right on the brink of hell.
Got it. Oh, okay, brink of hell. Okay,
you're right there, though. You're not in it.
or the brink of heaven. Or the brink of heaven.
They always bring in a good quarterback or a good coach or a good run, and then something disastrous happens, and all of a sudden, you're just below that winning record. You're not the worst, but you're pretty bad. Right on the brink. Right on the brink.
Well, okay. Maybe this new head coach, Aaron Glenn, and his new strategy will help the team actually win something. Because this season, he has started a team Bible study where they are really like digging into scripture. So I don't know if you saw this, but one of the safeties, Jay Manwell, he shared a photo on his Instagram story of a worksheet from one of their sessions. And it is like a full, like fill in the blank, open-ended question worksheet. So they are really digging into scripture.
So when we've published this, when I saw the headline before I read it, I assumed it was like, okay, so he's having like chapel or like they're doing a prayer thing before practices or something. Like that's not that uncommon. but you're saying they're doing a full on sit down VBS Bible teaching, Bible study as a team.
Yes, it's not clear if this is mandatory, but the head coach is like part of this, leading this. And so the worksheet had scripture. He had underlined some things. There was, again, like a fill in the blank section. So they're like taking notes, really digging into scripture.
Wow.
And people obviously have some mixed feelings about it. But I do think my favorite one, kind of to Jesse's point, was someone said, I'm usually for keeping religion and work completely separate, but I actually think the Jets need Jesus Christ himself to fix them.
Maybe the Jets should be studying their playbook instead of the Bible.
I was going to say, I am all for Bible studies. I think it's great spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it's going to translate considering our two quarterbacks. No disrespect, but both of them were backups last year in Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor. I like Tyrod Taylor, but guys, it's looking grim, and it has. And this is a Jets fan who's been through some rough patches. Okay, we had Zach Wilson as a quarterback. All right,
you're saying names. I have no clue who you're talking about.
Oh, what if the prayer actually brings the best out of all of these players? That's the real question.
Then if it brings the absolute best out of that roster, then we're 8-8.
So
because the best they're best that this roster is. Because the best of this team, the absolute best of this roster, is not as good as the average performance of like the Lions or something.
Oh,
it's just, I'm sorry. Look at the roster. Look at the positions. It's a terribly constructed team.
It has been
sell the team, Woody Johnson. Keep the Bible studies.
Listen. If Jesus can make a donkey talk,
right?
If David can beat Goliath with 5 stones,
come on,
the Jets can have a winning season.
All of the Bible studies for the team are those stories from the Bible of like God using terrible, unqualified people to do good things.
Come on,
like Philippians 4:13.
Moses was a stutterer.
Yeah.
The problem is the good things the unqualified people in the Bible did typically had grave spiritual consequences. They weren't the outcome of the AFC East. All right? I'm sorry. We're playing against the Buffalo Bills in the division. I don't equate it to conquering the long deserved promised land by the enslaved Israelites.
You know what? Oh, ye of little faith. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. I'm rooting for the Jets this year. It's clearly God's team. And watch good things happen. And they're going to shock.
Too much dip on your chip.
Shock the league.
Listen, who was basketball at the NCAA this year? Wasn't it Auburn? Weren't they like? They're super Christian, and
then Florida won at the end. So
okay, here's the thing: made it farther.
The evil one.
The evil one.
Go Gators! What are you talking about? Like, that's a Gator Final Four signed by the winning team right there. That ball right there.
Listen, I've been cheering for the Jets for the entirety of my adult life, and I just know. And I hope every player and coach on that team is engaging spiritually, but I also hope they're engaging physically and mentally, because if you watch games, they don't seem to be. All right. This is a team who the hallmark play of the last 25 years is known as the butt fumble. All right. I don't have a tremendous amount of hope. All right.
Who was the quarterback then? It was Sanchez.
Mark Sanchez.
Yeah.
We're going to clip this, and then when they make it to the Super Bowl this year, in Jesus' name, we're going to play this clip again.
Okay, I will equate this to the NBA, dude. We last week brought, the NBA Finals right now is the Thunder and the Pacers. Mm-hmm. We brought the clip last week. Tyrese Halliburton, last 2 years, has found God. He's become a Christian. He's committed to reading his Bible. He's at chapel before every game. Yeah. Like, he's like really serious about his faith. Look where he's at. On the other side of the Thunder, I went to a bunch of Thunder games because I have a friend who has tickets when I'd be out in Oklahoma and stuff. And it shocked me because before an NBA game, they would have before the national anthem, before all that stuff, they would have a local pastor come out, like it's a Christian high school, on the mic and say a prayer before the game, like a Christian prayer. And then they would start the NBA game, which I didn't even know how that was allowed, but I couldn't believe it. So look at it. These two teams putting God first. Now they're in the finals.
And
Jesse,
look at the Lakers.
Oh, exactly. Oh, ye of little faith, Jesse. You should be going, this is our year.
Listen, I hope it is. I just don't know if spiritual devotion always equates to best performance.
Okay,
Here's my
get
proof.
behind
Here's
me,
my proof.
Satan.
Here's my proof. Why isn't the homeschool varsity team just smoking every school in town with kids that are, doing Bible studies as part of their curriculum? I just don't see it shake out like that always. I'm sorry. Like
if Jesse Duplantis taught me anything, the Bible works like that. If you do XYZ, God has to give you
I'm gonna stop you right
ABC.
there. I'm gonna stop you right there because you quoted Jesse Duplantis. So we just go.
I'm saying name it and claim it. Name it and claim it. Faith.
I'm gonna stop
You
right
sow a seed, God owes you $1,000. That's it. I mean, that's how it works.
I'm gonna stop you right there. That's
what they tell me. I don't know if the Bible says it, but that's what they tell me.
Real quick, I do want to circle back briefly on how glad I am that Tyrese Halliburton's father is back in the stands.
Yes.
I saw a video of him from a couple years ago, and he was on the sidelines, and it was during a game against the Dallas Mavericks when Luka Doncic was still on there. At some point, Luka and him had recognized each other. I guess he knew it was Tyrese Halliburton's father. And this is mid-game, like between possessions. Tyrese Halliburton's father reaches out to shake Doncic's hand. Doncic, as a courtesy, like, oh, this fellow player's father, shakes hand. His father does not let go and is clearly squeezing Luka's hand. Luka is trying to get away from Tyrese Halliburton's father, ends up running away, and you see him shaking his shooting hand that Tyrese Halliburton's father tried to injure during a game. I love this man.
Yes.
Protect him. He is a competitor,
Yes.
and I fully support everything he's doing. It was a great moment.
All right.
That was Sports Center with Emily.
There you go. That'll do it for Relevant Buzz. Make sure to check out all those stories and a lot more happening at the intersection of faith and culture every day at relevantmagazine.com. Thanks, Emily. All right, stay tuned. Up next, Jay Manwell joins us. What if you could change a child's life with just $10? Right now, thousands of vulnerable children in East Africa are suffering from jiggers. It's a painful, preventable parasite that burrows into their feet. Soul Hope is the only organization treating it through foot washing, medical care, and durable closed-toed shoes that protect kids long after treatment. $10 may not seem like much in today's world, but when we come together, those small gifts add up to big change. Join the 10 for 10 campaign. $10 protects 10 small toes. Visit soulhope.org/10 to give now. One small gift makes a big difference. Again, that's Soulhope, SOLE, hope.org/TEN. Well, our guest today is Jay Manwell. Jay and Manuel Lundy are two brothers from Abilene, Texas, who have been making some of the most exciting new Christian R&B music. If you don't know them yet, you're about to. They sat down with Emily to talk about their upbringing, including how they started out as a punk rock band and how they're focused on making excellent music that can break out of the Christian mold. Here's our conversation with Jay Manwell.
When I step in the room, they be noticing. I'm a Texas boy, but I'm from Eden. Jay Manwell with that boy Gordon. Shout out to Bryce, he making them spins. Back at the Cove, they run it again. They want to call it the money.
I'm so glad to talk to you today, and I think the best place to start this conversation is at the very beginning. How did two brothers start making music together?
So we started writing songs at the age of I think he was 10. I was probably 7. So even back then, our mom just grew us up in a Christian household. And so we would just write silly songs about Jesus, I guess. And over time, we started to lead worship in our church. And we had no idea that we wanted to write, make Christian music for people, We just loved the worship. And so long story short, we one of our friends was like, hey, you guys should try making your own song. And we were like, okay. And we just ignored it because we didn't care about it, And so we felt on our heart that we should try it. And then there's an artist named V Rose. We listened to her growing up, wonderful artist, and she has an amazing character. But we told God, we prayed, and we're like, from a small town. All of our friends are asking us to make Christian music. We don't know how to do it. So if you want us to do this, just open up a door. And literally a week later, she found our Instagram, and we just started this friendship, and it was all God, crazy.
Yeah, and out of that relationship, we got connected with a lot of the people in the CHH community, really quick.
1K Fuse.
Yeah, a lot of those people really quickly, and so that was kind of our the bridge point to kind of get us introduced to the
to the, CHH and a lot of the artists in it. And we just started growing from there.
I confess, need you once again. My heart is broken, I need rest. Don't wanna complain, but I need direction. I do. I know you gon' get me through.
West Texas isn't really known for its hip hop scene. And I can say that because I've been to Abilene. How did growing up in West Texas impact your music?
Well,
that's a good question.
That's a good. Yeah, it's mostly country music out here. It's, Abilene's West Texas, so it's like, there's only I feel like there's a certain group of people here who actually like listen to R&B and rap and Christian hip hop. It's a very select few people here. We found those people. I'm pretty sure there's more of them, but might be most of them, honestly. And again, like growing up, our mom like played all types of music, like Christian rock, like think of like Hawk Nelson and Sanctus Real, Reliant K, Switchfoot, but also like like Michael Jackson, and then also Dietrich Haddon, and so many different gospel artists, Kirk Franklin, and there's a lot. So it was just kind of like I don't know, our mom, our upbringing kind of just helped us listen to everything.
And just a fun fact, we were actually in a Christian punk rock band before. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
Before Christian hip hop.
Yeah,
yes, ma'am. It was called Red Moon.
It was called Red Moon, yeah.
But
we were teenagers. Yeah.
Anyways, somehow we just kind of moved from that. But the community here in Abilene, it's just they love our music, but it's really hard to connect. And we're we would do a lot of gigs, like a lot of wedding gigs here in town, but we never had a show in our hometown just because of the dynamics and stuff here. But God still allowed us to have supporters all around the world, so that helps. But hopefully,
and eventually we will. Like I feel like, eventually we will do a show here, because we're starting to realize there are some people here who are like, "Oh, please come out to our church and like to our youth group, stuff like that." You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's, at least within the Christian circles here, like there has been like an appreciation and on like what we're doing, in Abilene. So.
You keep showing your gaze to me. I be falling for you like gravity. Always there when I need something. Got me feeling like I know what you love is. You keep showing your gaze to me.
I want to hear more about this punk rock band that you started. How did you go from punk rock music to Christian R&B?
I don't know. I feel like it's helped us creatively. The way we write music is extremely different. And so we'll sometimes like just remember a song that we wrote years ago, like when we were kids. And of course the song was terrible, but we'll use some of those melodies even back then. And like we'll use some of the melodies that we've used, whenever we were trying to write punk rock music. But that's just something that our mom, listening to Christian rock, we loved it. And so somehow we were able to like translate that into what we do today. Like even our visuals, like some of the, having like a very creative aesthetic for our visuals and stuff. Like those were things that we were doing like back then, like for our punk rock, I don't want to say Christian concerts, but we would have them. It was crazy. And so it's like, I feel like if we didn't go through that phase, everyone has a punk rock phase. Anyways, if we didn't go through that phase, like it would, like a lot of the creativity you see in our music now wouldn't be there. Felt like it had to happen, but it is a crazy jump for sure.
Yeah. And a lot of our musicality, like a lot of people don't know that, I play guitar, a little bit of keys, like Jay, like
I play drums.
Yeah. Incredible percussionist and drummer. Like it really started from like getting in a punk, like literally just watching. I remember a Hawk Nelson video came on called Friend Like That. And I thought the visuals were so cool and the music was so different. I just fell in love with it. I think I was only like 15 or something like that. But I convinced him and then my two stepbrothers to like join, like make a Christian punk rock band. And so we all did that. And it was just a blast. It was just like 4 teenage boys who would literally just be in their parents' garage, like garage door up, and like just just playing. Just punk rock. Like, yeah, exactly. Like we skateboarded in our free time. So it was just like, oh man, it was such a great childhood. It was awesome. We've always loved R&B at the same time, and we still love Christian, punk rock music as well. So it's like, I still see that being somehow kind of transferred over in a way, even if it's just showing our musicality, like with our shows, you know what I'm saying?
Which we're going to do more.
Yes, you know what I'm saying?
Because that's who we are.
You're right.
There'll be some songs to where like I'll be on a drum set and he'll be on guitar. And so it's different. It's weird, because everyone's
it's almost like 21 Pilots, low key. Like it's like a duo that like, one guy's on the drums, the other guy, front man singing, playing guitar. It's kind of like that, you know what I'm saying? But in a Christian R&B type way. So yeah,
it's different.
You're the only one I love, one I trust. Said what I said and did what I did. Race, follow me, show me how to live. We don't take commands unless they be the teens. Race, follow me, yeah.
Now, have you guys known that you always wanted to make Christian music, or have you ever discussed making more mainstream music?
There's definitely been like opportunities for like artists in the mainstream space who like reached out to us for like collabs and stuff like that, which has been like an honor. But and even labels too, like some pretty big labels out there. But it's always been important for us to like not compromise like our message, because there's so much of an influence that we have with the youth that we've noticed, like just our whole life. Like the Lord's kind of just revealed that to us. Like that's a big calling on our life, is the influence over the youth. And so I've never wanted to like, and we've also, these are things that we've prayed about and, talked to counsel about and wisdom, stuff like that. And every single time it was kind of like, you're either on one side or the other. And it's like, it's not that I don't like respect those artists, what they do, like their art, like their gifts and stuff like that. But from what I'm doing, what we're doing is like specifically it's for a higher calling and a bigger purpose.
It's ministry. It's not just good music.
Right.
And so there's responsibilities to that.
Right.
There's spiritual warfare that comes with that.
Right.
And we've always it's been prophesied since we were kids. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, that we would have influence. And so even just leading worship in the youth, God was preparing us for what we're doing now.
Yeah.
It's the same thing on a bigger scale. And so it's just
just never wanted to make it confusing for the kid who's looking at us and like, yo, like they're making like awesome Christian R&B music or whatever, but then they also like collab with this guy who just sings nothing but like sex, money, drugs and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, can I like I don't want that to even transfer over into like their lifestyle. Like can I do both? Can I also like be in the church but also be in the world at the same time? Like, so it's like you know what I'm saying? Like, so it has to be consistent throughout, you know what I'm saying? It's a lifestyle. It's not just music, but it's like it's the lifestyle too,
I ain't gotta die no more. Spend my life living a lie. Tell me what you see inside. Is it something that you're down to ride for? You tell me that you're the light. You already paid the price, and I ain't gotta stress like that.
That was Jay Manwell. Make sure to check out their music on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your tunes. It's fantastic. All right, stay tuned. Up next, it's One Has to Go. $3 billion. Right now, there are 3 billion unreached people with no access to the gospel. Among them, 150 to 200,000 die each day without knowing Jesus. If you could reach them faster, would you? If you could build reproducing churches right now, would you? If there were people with the language and cultural understanding to share the gospel, would you support them? If there's a way to reach the unreached that was guaranteed to work, would you make the investment? Right now, local national believers are already making disciples, but they lack the resources to plant more churches and train more church planners. This is the new wave of missions. This is how we reach the unreached as quickly and effectively as possible. It's called There and Now. Find out more at thereandnow.org. Okay, it's time for
One Has to Go.
I like the jingle now. I'm sticking with it. I'm sorry.
I forgot that you were supposed to made a new one for the last 2 months.
It was a temporary jingle, and now I'm like, it's an earworm. It gets stuck in my head. Anyway, all right, we're doing some Father's Day ones because Father's Day is this weekend. Big day in this household. It's the only holiday we observe in this household.
My goodness.
All right, Jesse, you're up first. Father's Day gifts: power tools, a new grill, tickets to a big game, or a high-tech smartwatch. One has to go.
Power tools. Because
get them out of here.
Handy. What?
Get them out of here. I already got them all.
Get them out. I want to hire people.
I got them all. I want to hire people. The two extremes of dads right there.
Get them out of here.
I don't need more power tools. I have them all.
And you're not gonna buy the right ones. You gonna buy the cheap ones. Like they're not gonna be. They're not gonna. You just don't even do it. It's all
do
good.
a Home Depot gift card if you're to do.
Don't even do that because that sounds like work. I don't want to go work. Like no, take me to the game. Like you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true.
Do something that's not work.
Derek, Father's Day activities: golfing with the family, a backyard movie night, going to a car show, or a fishing trip. One has to go.
What'd you say? What was the first one?
Golfing with the family, a backyard movie night, going to a car show, or a fishing trip.
Get the backyard movie night out of here, and I don't even golf. No, because it's hot outside.
Yeah,
it's
just put me on a couch.
Trying to be outside. I'm not trying to be. Do you live in Nashville? You know how humid it is outside. I ain't trying to be. It's musty, bro. I'm cool. Father's Day. Now, if we was talking spring, like you know what I'm saying, or we was talking fall, different situation. But as far as regionally for me, in midsummer, man, to get that movie night out of here.
You should get this hat. I've seen it on TikTok where it's like it looks like a fishing hat, but there are two fans in the hat, and they're like directed at you.
I don't want no hat with no fans on there.
See, but Derek, what you got to do is you got to get a pool because I've done the huge projector screen out in the backyard with the projector, float in the pool for movie night.
That would be a vibe. That would be a vibe.
Even then,
I have a pool though.
Even then, you're like half hour, and you're like, all right, I kind of want to drive. Get on. Like, this is cool in theory. See, outdoor movie nights are one of those things that in theory, it's the best, you know? But theory to execution, I feel like it takes about a half hour for that dissidence to really become evident.
It's like there's a reason drive-through movies don't exist no more. There's just
exactly.
It's a reason. There's a reason.
I don't want to sit in my car for 2 hours. It's like, you know what I mean? I have a nice couch at home with a TV and a bathroom.
And there's a reason why they got recliners and heated seats in all the movie theaters now.
Good points being made.
All right, Emily, we're going to go movies with you with Dad's Father's Day. Movie dads: Mufasa, Clark Griswold, Marlin from Finding Nemo, and Brian Mills from Taken. One has to go.
Oh, like Liam Neeson?
Yeah.
I mean, I have to have Mufasa. I think I might get rid of Marlin from Finding Nemo. I mean, he's a good dad, and I appreciate that he crossed an ocean to find his son, but didn't really tell that great of jokes, was kind of got on my nerves.
There's no movie if Marlin doesn't exist because nobody's trying to find Nemo.
Nemo's just lost.
Nemo's just, nobody cares. Nemo's just out there.
Nemo's in a fish tank somewhere.
and I'm going to push back on the Mufasa thing. Great king. I don't want him as the dad. That's a lot to live up to. I mean, he had so much pressure that he went to go live in the jungle and eat bugs. Okay? That is literally what happened. He could not live in the shadow of the king.
No, I think that was his guilt. I don't think that was the shadow part.
I'm just saying, if his father's Clark Griswold and Clark Griswold died in a stampede, I don't think he's living with the same sense of responsibility and guilt here.
Agreed. All right,
I don't know.
Jesse, dad jokes. I'm going to give you 4 dad jokes. One has to go. Or dad sayings. I'm not sleeping. I'm just resting my eyes. Okay, that's one. Hi, hungry. I'm dad. The response to Dad, I'm hungry. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Or pull my finger. One has to go.
Wait, why did the Scarecrow win an award?
I have no idea what that is. Emily put this together, and I thought maybe you knew what that is.
I ain't never heard that one before.
Me neither. Emily?
I hadn't heard it. That was a ChatGPT one.
You found it from ChatGPT?
Get it out of there.
You put dad jokes in?
We already know which one it is.
Hey, listen,
I don't know dad jokes.
You guys know my theory about why AI can't take over the world because it's not funny. Like it can't write jokes.
Yeah.
I've said that when it can write comedy, I'll be afraid. This is just proves my point, and for that reason, it stays. I will take the high hungry. It's me, Dad.
You just don't want to tick off ChatGPT. It listens. All right, Derek. Classic dad activities. You were talking about this earlier. Napping in a recliner.
Staying.
Tinkering in the garage. Mowing the lawn or giving unsolicited advice. One has to go.
Oh, you get the mowing the lawn out of here.
I don't understand these people that enjoy that. There's actually people that enjoy it.
Man, that's out of here.
Kind of like it.
You like it?
Outside.
What do you like about it?
Like being outside, exercise, put a pot on.
How come you make your wife do it all the time?
I don't make her. She's home more during some daylight hours where it can get done. I don't mind doing it. I like looking out at the lawn with the lines. You know, it's
as long as God provides money for Derek Lawrence Johnson Jr., I will be paying someone to cut my grass.
Yeah, I'm not a tinkerer.
As he does that.
I'm not a tinkerer. What am I tinkering with down there? What do I need? What do I need to get in the garage and break some tools out and just mess around with?
Now,
I'm telling you, it's going to make any problem worse.
I love that. That's my thing. If something's broke, I'm gonna try to fix it first, and more than likely make it worse.
I've learned my
but
lesson.
I'm still.
I'm calling up Jeff Bezos and I'm getting something else.
All right, Emily. Dad TV shows: Ted Lasso, The Mandalorian, Yellowstone. He's a dad figure. He's not a dad. The Yellowstone or Stranger Things. One has to go.
I am probably gonna get rid of the Mandalorian, solely just because I haven't seen that one. That's the one I haven't seen.
Then that don't count.
That don't count.
No, it counts in my world.
I agree.
Because I've clearly lived this long without it. So, and Jess is backing me up here.
It's fantastic.
We're good on Star Wars. We're good.
That's my thing. How
It's
many
not
stories
like normal
can we tell?
Star
Some
Wars.
haters.
We're good.
I think I did try to watch because it's the one with Baby Yoda, right?
Yeah, Grogu.
Okay, whatever. Baby Yoda. That's great. I tried to watch it. There was too much like terminology, and I felt like I was not nerdy enough to be watching the show.
You're very nerdy enough. Don't worry about that.
No, that's the thing. I do consider myself to be a nerd, and the fact that I still didn't feel nerdy enough, I just want you guys to do like maybe some self-reflection. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, last super quick round. Here we go. Jesse, blockbuster movie franchises: Mission Impossible, Fast and Furious, Jurassic Park / World, or James Bond. One has to go.
Easy Jurassic Park. It peaked long ago. It peaked with the first one, actually.
There's a new one coming out. Dude, the Jurassic World stuff with Chris Pratt stuff was great. It was awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm with Jesse on this one.
Okay, Derek, reality competition shows: The Voice, Survivor, The Great British Bake Off, or RuPaul's Drag Race. One has to go.
Get RuPaul up out of here. Sorry, guys.
I'm gonna sag and see baking. There's only one thing worse than actually baking is watching other people bake because you don't get to eat anything.
It's a lovely show,
God.
Jesse. It's a lovely show.
And it's British. I don't like British stuff on TV.
No, they promote kindness. Okay, we kind of need that.
Jesse, they have they have like this like goth comedian as one of the hosts. It's funny.
That you're making me even find more reasons not to want to watch it. How about this? It's baking. It's British. And it's a goth comedian.
And they're in a tent at all times.
Where do I sign up?
How many ways? Because I dislike this show.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Emily, here we go. 2020's pop artists: Olivia Rodrigo, Noah Kahan, Ice Spice, or Tate McRae. One has to go.
I'm getting rid of Tate McRae. She kind of annoys me. And
Why?
She's a great dancer. She could be that, but she's trying to do singing, and it's just too auto-tuned. I don't think she's that good. And I recognize that Ice Spice is also in that category. She's fun. I'm sorry.
She's rapping though, like she's not singing.
Yeah. She's doing something very entertaining to me, so I'll keep her around.
All right. That'll do it for this edition of
One Has to
Thanks again to Jay Manwell for joining us today. They're always dropping new singles, so make sure to check out their latest single, Praise Your Name, which is out now. Also, make sure to follow Relevant Podcasts on IG. We're at Relevant Podcasts. We're posting clips from the show as well as One Has to Go polls and stuff. Fun follow. Good way to connect with other listeners in the comments. Also, make sure to follow Relevant Magazine on IG as well. And bookmark, make it part of your daily reading. Hit up relevantmagazine.com. If you are too busy for that, sign up for our newsletter where we send you our top trending stories each week right to your inbox. Check it out every day, relevantmagazine.com. All right, on that note, we'll wrap it. I'm Cameron Strang.
Jesse Carey.
I'm Derek Miner.
I'm Emily Brown.
We will see you next Friday. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Relevant Podcast. Make sure to check out our coverage at the intersection of faith, life, and culture every day at relevantmagazine.com. And while you're there, don't miss our latest digital issue. Issue 116 features Nate Bargatze, Connor Price, and a lot more. And don't forget Relevant Plus. It's the best way to experience our content, including ad-free reading, an ad-free version of this podcast, and more. You can get all the info and sign up at relevantmagazine.com.
Who do you think you are? I am.
Relevant Podcast Network.